Hello and welcome to our digital inclusivity learning tip number 3. So today we're talking about colour and why colour matters when designing content and what we can do to make things better and the experience better for all of our students and colleagues. So people who are blind, have low vision or colour blind might miss out on some of the meaning conveyed by particular colours within your content. There may be many other reasons why someone struggles with following the content due to the colours that have been used. It can impact someone's ability to follow what you're doing in the lesson, and especially in current circumstances, screen fatigue, other mental health issues and unseen cognitive difficulties can have an impact on someone's ability to follow your lesson due to the colour that's been used and the contrast within them. So if we have a look at, just for an example, the statistics behind colour blindness alone, not just all of those other issues we've just mentioned, it's worth noting that 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women are affected by colour blindness. So it just shows you why it's so important we take this into consideration in everything that we do. So what can we do to help when we were designing our lessons or any other presentations that we're giving? First of all, we need to ensure that the colour is not the only means of conveying information. So, for example, let's look at point number 1 here. We can use an accessible slide design. So PowerPoint and other presentation software usually contain built-in slide layouts and designs that you can apply to any slide because they're designed to be accessible. And they're also designed that screen readers can be more easily read the content as well. So that's a double reason here. It's really simple to do. You just find an accessible template by going to File, for example in PowerPoint, New, and in the Search for Online Templates theme, as you can see in the image here, type into the text box there, Accessible Templates, and press Enter. In the search results, select a suitable template, and then click Create. And then you already know you've got a slide layout and design that has the accessibility has been thought about in the first place. So how can you adapt the colour schemes and check that they are inclusive? So the first point on this slide, so point 2 in this inclusive learning tip, is to be aware that particular colours can create issues. And for other issues such as underlying a colour-coded hyperlink text, underlining that so that people who are colourblind know that it's a linked text, even if they can't see the colour, that, you know, when it turns blue when you put in the URL to a hyperlink. For headings, consider adding bold or using larger font. And point 3, if you're using your own template in PowerPoint or just want to be sure it's colour accessible, you can actually go onto your desktop and go to Windows Settings, enable the grayscale filter in Settings, go to Ease of Access and Colour Filters. Then you can visually scan each slide, so it will make your whole screen just grayscale, and then you can visually scan each slide in your presentation for instances of colour coding, to see where there's an issue in contrast of colour, to see how it might look to someone who's colourblind. And a really great tip here that I discovered while I was doing this, you can just hold down the Windows key, the Shift key and the letter C, and this will turn your grayscale quickly on and off. So you don't have to keep going into the settings all the time. And point number 4, use sufficient contrast. This is so important for text and background colours as well. In PowerPoint, to find insufficient colour contrast, you can actually use the accessibility checker, which we did talk about in our inclusive learning tip, number 1. And you can go and check out how to use that there. You can also look for text in your content that's hard to read or to distinguish from the background whilst you're doing that. And in other software, and you're not using PowerPoint, you can also use websites such as Contrast Checker, which I've linked here, to help you with your colour schemes. So what to think about in general when you're designing your content, apart from those key tips and things to check. So use strong contrast between text and background, so people with low vision can see and use the content. And you can see for yourself somehow by just adding a pale colour here, it's slightly easier on the eyes anyway, just to read. Use dark text on white or off-white background, or reverse it and use white text on a dark background. White and black schemes also make it easier for people who are colourblind to distinguish text and shapes but often slightly off-white can be the safest option. Everyone's going to have different needs, and so it's really hard to make sure it's accessible for everybody. But by taking these simple steps with colour, it can make, in general, people's lives much easier. And you can also check with individual students as you get to know them, which things make it easier for them to adapt that in your future presentations. So there's some other useful resources for you here. There's a colour blindness test, and there's more on forms of colour blindness that you can read about to back up your knowledge in this area. So thank you for listening. Remember to keep it digitally inclusive. And if you do have anything else that you would like to suggest that we include in these learning tips, please contact either myself, Rebecca Young, or Paul Rana, the Inclusive Learning Manager, and we'll see what we can put together for you. These will be coming out and continue to come out in every digital newsletter every month, so keep an eye out for them, for those all staff emails, and do let us know if you have any queries and just get in touch. We were going to put something in about closed captions, which I mentioned in the last learning tip, but we're still looking at some slightly better ideas of how you can do that to make it really simple. So we're here to give you some help and support and not add to any of the work that you've already got. So please let us know if you've got any questions or ideas of where we might be able to help and support you. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.